1838, the then small town of Grand Rapids, Michigan was founded. By the 1900s, the town had grown into a city and was known as Furniture City. In November of 2025, my family and I visited Grand Rapids. What do these three things have in common? Well, not a whole lot. It's, after all, about 188 years after 1838. And we didn't go to Grand Rapids to see furniture. You see, in my mind, when I think of Grand Rapids, I think of books and bookstores. That's because Grand Rapids became a Christian publishing hub, if you will, with several major Christian publishers setting up shop in Grand Rapids. And along with that, it became a hotbed of bookstores. Well, in today's video, we're going to explore a couple of those bookstores and see what treasures we can find there. And first up, we have Baker Bookhouse. Started in 1939 by 28-year-old Herman Baker. Baker started as simply Herman seeking to sell books and doing so out of a basement. Today it's grown into a major Christian publishing company, and they have this beautiful store that we're about to walk through. When we walk through the front doors, we're greeted by a new releases table as well as a welcome desk. And as we turn to the right, we enter their large kids area after we first pass a Christmas section and a CD section. At the beginning of the children's section, you can find these shelves with children's story Bible books, as well as a shelf that has a number of children's Bibles. Across the aisle are various books for children, chapter books for children. And then an aisle over from that, you have fiction books for older children. Perhaps in the 12 plus stage of life. Look at all those books on either side of the aisle. And that leads us to this middle section where there are books for younger children. You can see a number of board books there. This section was filled with books about the Bible story books for kids. It has this couch where my lovely wife is sitting, looking at a book that she discovered. And it's just filled with all kinds of great things for kids, including this super cool train mat, which my son could have played at all day. Anyway, moving on. If you turn left at the front doors, you enter the main adult section of the bookstore. Here you'll find devotionals, books on apologetics, books on theology, and this Christian living section, where I found a book by Tim Keller. And as excited as the camera makes it sound like, I did not buy that book. Right across the aisle from the main adult section that we were just in, is this section with all kinds of decor, all kinds of pretty things. Pictures, wall hangings, statues, all kinds of crosses that you can see there, baby clothes, cards, all kinds of things. Well, we'll walk quickly through this section. Which leads us to the Bibles section. The wonderful thing about Baker is that it has a sizable Bible section towards the back of the store. Here you can find Bibles organized by translation. So here you can see CSB Bibles, followed by NLT Bibles further down the shelf. As we turn the corner, we enter a section that has ESV Bibles. As they're organized by translations, Baker includes all kinds of different Bibles. You can see ESV study Bibles there. On the other side of the shelf, there would be CSB and NLT study Bibles. They carry your average reading Bible. There's Bible journals, as you can see there. Here a small collection of NASB, New American Standard Bibles. On the other side of the aisle are the NIV Bibles. NIV Bibles. I don't know why that was so hard to say. Again, all kinds of different Bibles. And here at the back, behind protective glass, are the premium Bibles. ESV Heirloom Bibles, published by Crossway at the bottom there, and other translations and printings of premium Bibles. And across from the Bibles is my second favorite section in this store, the bargain section. And it's not my second favorite part of the store just because they sell Herman Bavinck. But it's my second favorite part of the store because they had all kinds of great resources here, sold at a discount price. These are books that are perhaps slightly damaged or have slight imperfections in them that Baker doesn't sell at full price. But they created this wonderful bargain section with all kinds of academic books. There's commentaries, there's Bibles, there's fiction, there's Christian living, all kinds of books, all at discounted prices. And this leads to my favorite section in the whole store, the used section. This is by far my favorite section at Baker. It has this massive used section that is just chocked full of all kinds of decent quality used books. Here you can see new arrivals that they have in stock. There's Bibles, there's devotionals, they have academic work, dictionary sets. I just wanted to get this shot to show you the size of this place. Well, one of the reasons I didn't get too much video footage in the used section at Baker's because that's where I did my book shopping. Like I said, I love this section. Every time I'm in Baker, I could spend hours and hours scanning and browsing the used book section. It's huge. It's like another whole bookstore inside the bookstore. And so it's well worth spending some time if you visit Baker, scanning and browsing and looking in the used book section. I was particularly drawn on this visit to the biography section in the used book section. And that's because I feel that my theology collection in my library is pretty good, both in terms of volumes that I have, as well as the content of those volumes. And over the last couple of years, I've really enjoyed the opportunities I've had to read biographies. And so I wanted to beef up my biography section. And I did just that with a number of volumes that I bought at Baker. The first of all being this one right here, James Bratt's biography of Abraham Kuyper, called Abraham Kuyper, Modern Calvinist Christian Democrat. James Bratt is Professor Emeritus at Calvin University. He's a historian. He specializes in Dutch Calvinism in particular, and he's written what I think has really become the authoritative biography of Abraham Kuyper. You might compare it to James Eglinton's biography of Herman Bavinck, which you can see on my channel as well, or a review of that biography. But Abraham Kuyper is really a fascinating figure. He's a Dutch pastor, theologian, journalist, politician, a jack of all trades in the late 19th and into the early 20th century. And I'm really curious to learn more about him. Neo-Calvinism, kind of the theological cultural movement that is often attributed to Abraham Kuyper. He's often seen as the founder of Neo-Calvinism is a theological tradition that I'm very interested in. And so I'm quite eager to learn more about the man who is seen as founding it. Looks like a great book. Can't wait to get to it. Then, as I looked a little further, I also eagerly picked up Alistair McGrath's biography of C.S. Lewis, C.S. Lewis, A Life. About 2 years ago, I was hoping to get this from someone who was getting rid of it, but another person beat me to it, to my great disappointment. So I was very excited and very eager to find McGrath's biography of C.S. Lewis here. I love the Chronicles of Narnia, C.S. Lewis's kind of fantasy work. And I love many of the sermons or speeches in the book called The Weight of Glory. And I find him a very fascinating individual. And so I was very excited to find this. I'm very eager to read it. Hopefully soon we'll see about that, as there's many other books that I want to get to as well. But nonetheless, I eagerly picked up Alistair McGrath's biography of C.S. Lewis. And then lastly, in the biography section, I found and eventually decided to buy this book right here, Becoming Elizabeth Elliot by Ellen Vaughn. If you don't know who Elizabeth Elliot is, she was a Christian missionary, American missionary. She was married to Jim Elliot, who was a well-known missionary who was killed on the mission field in Ecuador. And Elizabeth Elliot spent some time as a missionary as well, and then became a well-known author and speaker in the United States. She's written many books on topics like biblical manhood, biblical womanhood, a Christian view of suffering, among many other topics. She was actually a teacher of Tim Keller. She taught Tim Keller at Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. And so I was interested to learn more about her, more about her story, and especially her zeal for the Lord in the midst of such suffering that she experienced in her life. So I picked up Becoming Elizabeth Elliot. I should say this is volume 1 of a 2-volume biography that Ellen Vaughn, a best-selling author, has written. It's known as the authorized biography of Elizabeth Elliot. So I'll have to keep my eye out for volume 2, which I think is called Being Elizabeth Elliot. But another great biography that I was eager to add to my collection. And then last but not least, from the use section, I picked up this little book right here, The Tech-Wise Family by Andy Crouch. Another interest of mine is technology and how technology impacts us as people and how it impacts society and how we ought to be thinking about and using technology. And so I thought this would be a helpful book to add to my growing collection of books on tech. Andy Crouch has written a number of other books that deal with Christianity and culture, and so I'm eager to see what he has to say on a Christian view of thinking about and using technology. So that was my haul at Baker Bookhouse. We did get a few books for the kids as well. These two in particular, What Are Hands For and What Are Feelings For? A number of years ago we got another one in this series called What Are Mouths For? And these are just neat little lift the flap board books that basically teach us about how, or teach kids and perhaps adults too, that God gave us mouths, He gave us emotions, He gave us hands, and it teaches kids how do you use your hands in a way that Jesus wants you to. What are you not to do with your hands or your emotions? What are you to do in order to honor God and to love others around you? So we got these two books for our kids as well. Again, a great visit to Baker Bookhouse. But now, moving on. Our second stop was Reformation Heritage Books. RHB is another publishing company with a sizable bookstore also in Grand Rapids. RHB began with the goal of publishing and distributing Puritan and Reformed works, and they continue to do that today, recently publishing works by William Perkins and Thomas Goodwin and Thomas Boston, Charles Spurgeon, among others. And I think it's really this section here that summarizes the mission and vision of Reformation Heritage Books. As you can see, books with quotes from the Puritans, books on Puritan theology and Puritan history, just really summarizes what what the publishing company is all about. But it's not just Puritan works that the store carries. On this Highlights of Theology shelf, you can see books by modern theologians, by Dutch Further Reformation theologians, biographies, Bible studies. And here on this display table, there's church history for children, along with some other biographies, Bible study books, or devotionals. RHB carries a wide variety of different resources. The RHB bookstore also carried a wonderful section of Bibles. They themselves have published the Reformation Heritage KJV Study Bible, and you can see some premium editions of that Bible here on the shelf. However, I was also surprised to see that they carry a number of ESV Bibles. There's the Reformation Study Bible that Ligonier produced, and here are various Crossway ESV Bibles, some New King James Bibles there as well. Moving to the edge of the store, there's a couple shelves here with books from local authors. Many of these are by professors at Puritan Reformed Theological Seminary, that is also in Grand Rapids, the seminary that I was able to attend, as well as from local pastors in the West Michigan area. This also begins the Christian Living section of Reformation Heritage Books, with books on a range of topics regarding living as a Christian. So here J.C. Ryle gets his very own shelf. What a guy. Books dealing with anxiety, kind of counseling topics. Books dealing with worship and prayer and spiritual disciplines, spiritual habits. A shelf almost dedicated entirely to Charles Spurgeon. Here are books on counseling topics, anxiety, addiction, etc. Family life and family ministry, parenting. And that leads us to the back corner of the store, which is the children's section, also known as Little Pilgrim's Corner. Here you'll find all kinds of books on different topics for different age groups. Here's a section with biographies of various kinds for kids of different ages. Other books on different topics, doctrinal or biblical or Christian living children's books, I suppose, and a section of workbooks right at the back. At the back of the store, we come to a section with commentaries and Bible study resources. This is a shelf with a wide range of commentaries, Matthew Henry, different Puritan commentaries, as well as a range of modern commentaries coming from a Reformed or evangelical background. The other side of the aisle, there's Bible study resources, Bible study guides from P&R or from Crossway. Rich resources in which to study God's Word. Coming around the corner, we come to a shelf dedicated to Martin Lloyd-Jones, another special guy that gets his own shelf. But in all seriousness, Martin Lloyd-Jones is great. If you haven't read him, read him. He is wonderful. Back section also contains church history and historical theology. Different resources on Puritan theology, works by Jonathan Edwards there. Academic sources on the Puritans, Scottish theology, as you can see from some of those titles, as well as sketches in church history, 5 minutes in church history, different biographical or just topical studies in church history. And back to Bible study resources, books of sermons by various historical preachers, biblical theology type works tracing themes throughout the Bible. And finally, at the back, a section with resources for churches, whether that's books on pastoral ministry, books on issues that churches might face, like domestic abuse, a title you can see there, how churches are to think about their relationship with the government, on worship, on evangelism, all kinds of resources there. And finally, a section dedicated to the works of Reformers and Puritans. You can see Banner of Truth's Puritan paperbacks, other Puritan reprints on these shelves. Moving over, the works of John Owen, Richard Baxter's there, just a wealth of resources. And finally, we come to the middle aisles towards the front of the store. Here you'll find various sets of different works. You can see Matthew Henry's commentaries, the works of John Murray, Herman Bavinck, amongst many others. These are complete sets that RHB has published or that other publishers have put together. Another shelf with Puritan reprints that RHB has done. And in these middle shelves, you'll find books on theology, organized by the loci of systematic theology. So doctrine of God, doctrine of Christ, doctrine of salvation, doctrine of the church. Books on those topics you will all find in these middle aisles. Again, coming from a wide variety of authors, this store has a wealth of resources on all kinds of different things. Well, we didn't end up getting much at all at RHB. But in order to support a bookstore and feel like I did something there, I did pick up one book, this one right here, Herman Bavinck's Reformed Social Ethics. As you may have noticed, I did not buy this one at Baker. This is sort of a companion volume to the 3 volumes of his Reformed Ethics, and includes basically the editor combining parts of Bavinck's writings on various topics, on things like society, art and scholarship, church and state. So it's not specifically Bavinck's own writing of full chapters on these things, but more of an editorial work, piecing together and giving some commentary on what Bavinck says on these topics. It does include his whole speech, The Kingdom of God, the Highest Good. One of his speeches that I'm really curious about reading. So I grabbed this, a nice little addition to my Herman Bavinck / Neo-Calvinism section of my library. Well, that'll do it for this video. If you ever find yourself in Grand Rapids, be sure to check out Baker Bookhouse and Reformation Heritage Books. Two fantastic bookstores. They each kind of have their own niche, but they're two places that are very worth spending some time at and doing some book shopping there. Thanks for watching. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel if you're interested in other videos about books and bookish things. It's right around Christmas time. It's Christmas Eve as I'm recording that, so I wish you and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas as we remember and we celebrate the birth of Jesus. Hope you have a great day. We'll see you later.